From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for starting your week with us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Tonight, more details about the weekend shooting that left one Billings man dead and landed another in jail facing murder charges. Yellowstone County Coroner Cliff Mahoney releasing the victim's identity today. 25-year-old Christian Henning died from multiple gunshot wounds. The shooting unfolding just before 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon in the parking lot of the Dairy Queen at 3220 Honesta Drive. Tonight, 30-year-old Raheem Calloway, who turned himself into authorities about 20 minutes after that shooting, is facing deliberate homicide charges. Authorities say that the victim and suspect knew each other, had a dispute over Facebook, but what could lead to this? Q2's Janelle Slade is back out at the scene tonight to tell us what she learned today.
Russ, not only was this event captured on multiple surveillance cameras in the area, but several witnesses in the parking lot and in the area watched this all play out. And tonight we are learning this all had to do apparently with a $100 music recording deal between two local music producers. Much of the dispute played out over Facebook after the victim, 25-year-old Christian Henning, made the first post early Saturday morning, and the suspect, Raheem Calloway, fired back. This all went on for hours on Facebook until the two apparently agreed to meet here. Now, that's when court documents say that Raheem Calloway walked up to the victim's car, firing multiple shots, then put his gun through the window and shot one more time. Calloway then ran from the area, jumped into a silver car, and headed home. He later turned himself in. Calloway is expected to appear in district court tomorrow on homicide charges. Russ?
All right, thank you, Janelle. And a follow-up to some breaking news we first told you about last Friday night when a pickup crashed into the Laurel Middle School. Laurel police say a medical condition was the reason behind the accident, which sent the driver to the hospital. Witnesses say the vehicle went into reverse. The driver then gunned it, going over two curbs and into the building. No word back from the school district on the amount of damage to that school. The number of coronavirus cases in Montana has reached the 5,000 mark as of this morning. Today, 65 new cases were announced with 2 additional hospitalizations. Yellowstone County reported 10 new cases in the state's numbers, with Bighorn County seeing 9. 80 people are currently in hospitals across the state. 75 Montanans have died since the pandemic began. Almost 3,300 have now recovered. But lately, concerns have been raised online about thousands of potentially missing COVID-19 tests. Today, state public health leaders said they're not aware of any tests that have been lost. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on the issue.
MTN News had been forwarded an online post that said about 7,000 COVID-19 tests might have been lost. We looked into those reports. The Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, which has been overseeing COVID testing in the state, says it has not heard of any missing test results in the Helena area or elsewhere in Montana. In a statement Monday, a department spokesperson said, "We believe there might be confusion as to the recent backlog of test results at Quest that has since been resolved. This number of tests was also 7,000. These tests have been processed and the results sent back to the ordering provider." Montana is one of several states that saw delays in getting COVID test results, as the number of tests being processed at out-of-state labs spiked in recent weeks. The state is now working with another lab that has processed about 10,000 Montana tests. DPHHS says the turnaround time there has been about 2 to 3 days. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Montana is also still processing tests at the state lab in Helena, and leaders are working on testing partnerships with Montana hospitals and Montana State University to further expand in-state capacity. Montana's congressional delegation doesn't always agree on controversial issues, especially when it involves the Trump administration. But when it comes to concern about action taken by Trump's new Postmaster General and its effect on the Postal Service, they're all speaking up. MTN Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison has more.
In memos made public last month, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy said he is restricting overtime by postal workers and taking other cost-cutting steps that could delay mail delivery. He has said the financially strapped Postal Service needs to operate more like a business. But Democratic U.S. Senator John Tester says Congress has appropriated funds to help the Postal Service weather the coronavirus pandemic, but that money has not been released.
We've got a head of the Postal Service that wants to destroy the Postal Service. He's doing everything he can do to destroy it. We've got to hold that person accountable, and we've got to make sure the Postal Service is there.
The Republican members of Montana's delegation aren't happy either. Both U.S. Senator Steve Daines and Representative Greg Gianforte sent letters to DeJoy last week demanding that he reverse directives that are delaying mail delivery times. Daines and Tester also are co-sponsors of a bill introduced a month ago that would create a $25 billion emergency fund to keep the Postal Service afloat and require DeJoy to submit a plan for the service's long-term solvency.
I am concerned about that, particularly for a state like Montana, where rural communities are heavily dependent on the Postal Service, particularly for health care. So many senior citizens and other Montanans receive their medications through the United States Postal Service.
Senator Tester said a well-functioning Postal Service is even more vital now, as millions more Americans will likely be voting by mail this coming election.
Not only is the mail important for just doing regular old business and keeping folks healthy, but vote by mail is kind of nice in a state like Montana, and we had a record turnout during the primary because of it. I believe that this democracy is set up so everybody that's a citizen here should have an opportunity to vote.
So what happens now? As we've reported before on this issue, there's always plenty of tough talk in Congress about fixing and preserving the Postal Service. But here we are, still waiting for action. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Funding for the Postal Service had also been part of the latest pandemic relief bill, but negotiations on that bill remain stalled in Congress. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Mike Cooney said today he's taking his opposition to a sales tax one step further by asking voters themselves to ban it permanently. He also reiterated his charge that his Republican opponent, Greg Gianforte, is a sales tax supporter. Cooney and his running mate, Casey Schreiner, said they're launching a referendum to place a statewide sales tax ban in Montana's Constitution. The referendum needs the signatures of more than 51,000 registered voters to make it on the general election ballot in 2022. Cooney says the ban is needed to permanently block Republicans like Gianforte from advancing and passing a statewide sales tax. The Gianforte campaign dismissed Cooney's proposal as a publicity stunt, said Gianforte has made it clear he opposes a sales tax under any circumstances. Cooney, however, says he doesn't believe Gianforte and that voters need to send him a message.
No sales tax, no statewide sales tax, not today, not 2 years from now, not ever. Now let me repeat that just in case any multimillionaires from New Jersey are listening. No statewide sales tax. Not today, not 2 years from now, not ever.
The Montana Republican Party also noted that Cooney requested a sales tax bill in 2005 while he was a state senator. Cooney said that was just a request for research on the issue and that he voted no that year on a Republican sales tax bill that failed. Aside from the rides and carnival food, some performers with unique talents can be seen at Montana Fair that's taking place right now in Billings. MTN's David J. introduces us to a pair of contortionists with the Mighty Carnival Circus.
Margarita Cedeno Leon does her contortionist act at Montana Fair.
Actually, it's no pain, but sometimes I can't breathe when I put my head in the middle of my feet. So when I practice, sometimes I can't breathe, but it's not hard for me.
It sounds bad, contortion show, but it's just extreme athleticism is what it is, to be able to make those turns like they do. Really athletic.
John Hanchin brought the circus act to the Mighty Thomas Carnival.
We've not had something like that for years, and going back in the carnival history, it used to be rides and performances. In current years, it's been mostly rides. And this year, in a pandemic year, this nice family travels with us and puts on a great show.
Margarita's sister Melanie is also part of the show.
And when you are not focused too much, it's probably you gonna fall. So it's a little bit complicated.
But it's fun.
Yes.
I really liked it. When you dress for the circus, you feel more like different. You feel like a different person.
It's something when you feel, when you work, and when the people
you feel like shining.
Yeah, like that's
you
the
shine.
word.
The Cedeno Leon sisters grew up in a circus family.
We are half from Argentina and half Ecuador. We moved to Mexico and we grew up in Mexico.
And they're enjoying Montana Fair and traveling around the country.
This place is so beautiful, and have amazing people here, and we just love USA. That's a very beautiful place.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Thanks, David. The sisters perform at the Mighty Thomas Carnival Circus every night of Montana Fair at 7 o'clock. That fair runs until August 15th. Still ahead on tonight's 9 o'clock news, Election Day, a few months away. We're going to break down the race for Montana's lone House seat. But first, hot and sunny it looks like. Bob's in next with your full 7-day forecast.